Oh, good afternoon, everybody. I am so absolutely pleased to have Brian Marin here with me. And we are going to be looking at his, what should we say, bid for sheriff?
Yes.
Bid for sheriff and supporting criminal justice realignment, and why this is so important, and why Culture for Care has asked you to be here today for this interview. And so I'd like to hand it over to Martin to just say, what in this moment really would you like to share with the people?
Thank you for having me, Surya. I appreciate it. It was a pleasure meeting you downtown in Middletown a couple weeks ago, and we had a nice chat together, and we talked about the newly implemented California Justice Realignment that's affecting all of us in California. And I first want to start out by giving an overview of what realignment is and how it came into existence. What realignment is the shift of the responsibility of supervision of inmates who would have previously, under the previous system, been sent off to state prison to county jail prisons. It came about as a result of a Supreme Court decision that said that our state prisons were grossly overcrowded, and that the overcrowding amounted to cruel and unusual punishment because services weren't being provided, there was medical treatment that was inadequate, there was overcrowding conditions, and really an inhumane way of treating people. I know there was a lot of people that felt like, well, if you do the crime, you should do the time, and you deserve what you get, but in a civilized society, we don't treat people like that. California had one of the largest incarcerated populations in the world, and the Supreme Court of the United States told California, you got to fix it. You have to reduce your prison population down to 135% of design capacity. And what that meant was the release of tens of thousands of prisoners. And of course, the Supreme Court didn't tell us how to do it. They just said, make it happen, and you have by this time to do it. So the responsibility fell onto the state, and the governor, the current governor, Jerry Brown, decided that we're going to try this big experiment called Criminal Justice Realignment. So there was a couple options available at the time. One of the options would have been just to simply build more prisons. I think that there was some very forward and progressive thinking that went into the process, and they looked back over the last 25, 30 years and saw what the effect was of simply warehousing people and putting them away in prisons, and we weren't getting anywhere. All we did was overcrowd our prisons. We sent people to prison that were okay, decent criminals, and they came out much more sophisticated, better criminals, and really didn't learn anything. The name Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation was something I think a lot of people kind of said with a chuckle because there wasn't a whole lot of rehabilitating going on. So the governor decided that we're going to implement this new plan called realignment, and it's received a lot of publicity, a lot of negative publicity, but there's another side of it that I work with in my current occupation, and there's some positive things that go on with it. There's an emphasis now that's put on local control. With the transfer of the responsibility comes the transfer of funding, and it makes funding available for local agencies, local sheriff's departments, to use the funding that would have been used previously to simply house them to now create programs and kind of shift. This took me, it was a big shift for me. I'd been a cop for 20 years. And I spent 20 years going to work. You find the bad guy, you lock him up, you move on to the next one, and you don't really deal with the aftermath. With my current job, we really are more into the rehabilitation and providing services for offenders. And so with realignment comes a lot of funding, and we're able to implement programs that are designed to reduce recidivism, and we have some local control over that. It's not somebody that's in Sacramento determining what we do with our funds. It's right here locally. There's a community corrections partnership, which is a committee of local law enforcement and behavioral health leaders, and they decide what we're going to use that funding for, and we've really come a long way, and I think we're going to go a long way in the future and really start implementing the goals of realignment, and I think we'll see some positive changes, and we already have started to see some positive changes.
That is a wonderful larger stroke of what criminal justice realignment is supporting, which is creating programs to help people step out of the prison system.
Yes.
And back into the community life in a productive way.
Yes, and it's one of those things where there's no perfect solution. If there was a perfect solution, somebody would have implemented already, but it's a step in the right direction. And there are people out there, I know from firsthand experience, there are people out here that don't want to live that lifestyle, and the programs are designed to help them. There are people that will continue a criminal lifestyle, and there's nothing anybody can do for them, but the programs are designed to help those who want the help.
That is so wonderful, and I thank you for this first little bite, shall we say,
Sure.
and really appreciate your articulation.
Thank you.
Thank you.